Morning, everybody. Welcome to the fourth day of the Zemyata conference, which we co-organize with the Black Sea Energy Research Center. The topic of day 4 has to do with the business. What we would like to hear from them is a presentation of their technologies. We are going to hear from producers of different installations and technologies in the sector. We are going to start with a couple of brief presentations. And then we're going to have a panel discussion. This is where you can see the topics we're going to talk about. Mrs. Christina Petrova from Samsung Climate Solutions is going to talk about HVAC solutions for households. Then Boyan Kusaro from Danfoss Climate Solutions is going to talk about heating in single-family buildings and multifamily buildings. And the third presentation for today is from Svetlina Paskova and Stanimira Dimitrova from Hoval, who are going to talk about HVAC systems for new buildings and buildings that are undergoing renovation. Yet again, let me briefly tell you about what the Zoom instructions are. You can raise a hand and ask a question during the Q&A session we are going to have after the end of the third presentation. You can also use the chat for any technical questions that you have or to share with us any comments or observations that you have. It's recommended that your questions to the speakers be asked in the Q&A section. And as to simultaneous interpretation, you can choose the language you want to listen to via the interpretation button. You can choose between English and Bulgarian.
And now a few words in English with the instructions. Sorry, I'm changing too fast. Here is the interpretation button where you can switch to English. In the chat, we would invite you to ask technical questions and share observations and comments. While your questions towards the speakers, it's better to be placed in the Q&A section so that they can be visible for everyone from the audience. And again, in the Q&A section, you might ask the question yourself by raising your hand when we will give you the word to speak. And now I will switch to my colleague Svetoslav with a few more welcoming words and giving the word to the first speaker.
So hello everyone, I'm really glad to see you on this fourth day of our conference. As Rari said, today we're just going to give the word to the business. In the first panel, three really good companies offering excellent solutions, HVAC solutions, are going to present their products. And afterwards, we're going to have a short question and answer session, and we're going to continue with the second panel, where we're going to discuss the decarbonization of the construction sector and how the HVAC solutions could basically pave the way to this decarbonization. I would really like to invite our presenters from the first panel to stay and to join also the second panel, because I think that it's going to be really interesting for everyone. So if Chrissy and Dimitar Kristina Petrova and Dimitar Tsonev are going to present the first presentation for Samsung Climate Solutions. And as we discussed, we're going to speak mainly about heat pumps and what is the role of heat pumps. Yes, my colleague Gennady, I just forgot something, sorry about that. My colleague Gennady wanted to play a short video, and I will just give him the word for a couple of minutes. Gennady?
Thank you, Svetlo. It's good to be just across the table from each other so that we can remind each other constantly things regarding this conference. I'm very happy also to welcome you all on board, and I will kind of abuse with my position being here part of the office and being so close to my colleagues to try to provoke today's discussion with something. I really wish I had at disposal 1 million euro so that I could try to announce a competition like the one that we mentioned about the Helsinki Energy Challenge 2 days ago, where the city of Helsinki has awarded the best ideas how to transform their district heating and energy use to carbon neutral and climate neutral by 2035. But we don't have 1 million euro. And the only thing I could use is something that is available for free. And I have chosen a YouTube video, part of which I'm going to feature now. It's about the technology. And it was featured just recently on one of my favorite YouTube channels, which is called Just Have a Think. It's an independent online media channel of some enthusiasts that are trying to go through recently developed technologies for decarbonization and solving the climate crisis. They really do fantastic things, digesting all the undigestible TLDR type of material that is available at the moment with all the initiatives going around the world. And I strongly recommend that you follow the channel, Just Have a Think. There are a lot more interesting things to see. You can also support them for their independent work through the funding platform Patreon. But now I will feature a video which is about the initiative of one UK startup company called that is developing a product called Mixergy. What is Mixergy? Don't expect something that is super over designed or over engineered. There's not much semiconductors or nanomaterials about it. It's actually transforming the good old boiler, the good old hot water tanks that most of the households in the region have, into actually a smart device. So bear with me 5 minutes, and then I think this would be a great start for some of the next discussions that we expect today. There we are, sharing screen. Just let me know if also the sound works well, and because we kind of announced this very recently, I hope that the translation will be fine and the translators, the interpreters won't hate me for delivering this so late. There we are.
This is usable hot water about 5 times faster than a standard tank. Inside the Mixergy cylinder, there's a fairly standard heating coil transferring heat in most cases from a gas boiler. The difference here is that the coil is at the top instead of the bottom. This means that initially only the top slug of water gets heated up. There's also an electric immersion heater up there, which we'll come back to in a moment. One of the thermal properties of water is that while it's very good at moving heat from a surface via convection, it doesn't like transferring heat downwards into a colder section of water via conduction. So unless there's some physical mixing or stirring of the hot and cold water in the tank, then the warmer water tends to stay warm and the colder water stays cold. And for the technically minded among you, that junction between hot and cold is called the thermocline. So the coil heats the top section of water to the desired temperature of, say, 50 degrees Celsius. Then a pump starts moving cold water from the bottom of the tank up to the top at a precisely controlled flow rate, so that the energy balance of cold water going into the hot section matches the heat input, which then stops the temperature going up any further. If that cold water was pumped straight out of a pipe, then the system wouldn't work because the water would just sink straight back down to the bottom, taking some of the hot with it through physical churn. So the cold is transferred into the hot via a diffuser that spreads the water out like a mist, allowing it to very rapidly achieve the same temperature as the hot water. Effectively, the tank is heating from the top down instead of the bottom up, and that clever arrangement results in reduced heat losses. Overall, the Mixergy tank can save up to 20% on energy consumption through a combination of those reduced losses and better control of the energy source heating the tank. And as you'd probably expect, there's a smart app that allows the householder to see exactly how much hot water is available at any given time and operate the heating controls remotely. It even works with voice control via Alexa or Google Assist. But the Mixergy software is also smart enough to learn the patterns of behaviour of the householders, and it uses that information to work out the optimal times to preheat the tank, which in most cases is best done at night time using low or even negative tariff electricity rather than gas, which brings us to that electric immersion heater element I mentioned earlier. This chart shows a typical nighttime heating cycle for a Mixergy tank on a flexible energy tariff. Mixergy's cloud software is constantly talking to the energy supplier, and it can see when the electricity supply price goes negative. Normally this tank would be receiving heat from the system gas boiler, but in this case, between 2 AM and 2:30 AM, the consumer is actually being paid a small amount for every unit of electricity they consume. So instead of using gas, the Mixergy system takes advantage of this situation and starts using that electricity to heat the tank via the immersion heater. Same thing between 2:30 AM and 3 AM. Then the electricity price goes back into positive territory, so the tank stops consuming for half an hour, coming back on again at 3:30 AM when the consumer gets paid 1.34 pence for every unit consumed. Another pause at 4 AM and then a final spurt between 4:30 and 5, by which time the water at the top of the tank is well over 60 degrees Celsius. And because of the astonishing level of insulation that modern materials provide, the tank stays very close to that temperature for the rest of the day. That opportunistic use of electricity means the tank is sometimes being paid to heat. Plus, you get the benefit of switching between gas and electricity, which is something that will most likely become more and more desirable as the grid decarbonises. But the smart features don't stop there. Because the Mixergy software is capable of monitoring the frequency and voltage of the electricity supply, it can make the water tank function a bit like a battery to help stabilise the grid through a mechanism called frequency response. We looked at that in detail in a previous video, and you can click up there somewhere to jump back to that one. In basic terms though, the transmission system operator, which in the UK is the national grid, predicts national energy consumption on a half-hourly basis throughout the day and night, and prices are set accordingly to incentivise generators to either turn up or turn down their production during each half-hour segment. Once that's set, it's pretty much fixed. So if something unexpected happens during a half-hour slot that increases or decreases demand, you need to either find extra power or dump unwanted power. Not enough power could lead to blackouts, and too much power could lead to, blowing up your substation, which you don't want. That mechanism corrects any imbalances between supply and demand on a half-hourly basis, but other totally unpredictable events can also happen from 1 minute to the next, things like a power station breaking down or a large surge in wind power that wasn't forecasted. During those brief events, the grid frequency rises or falls depending on whether there's a surplus or deficit of power. Because Mixergy tanks can measure that frequency, they can respond to those momentary fluctuations. And one of the great benefits of that is that they can help the grid accommodate more renewables on the system. Mixergy's early field trials demonstrated that the vast majority of consumers rarely use more than 50% of their water tank's capacity when measured. That means there's an opportunity for the grid operators to dump excess energy into Mixergy's water tanks, very similar to the way that utility-scale battery systems are now being used. Mixergy now have just over 1,000 of their tanks installed across the UK, providing about 1 megawatt of frequency response capability. If all the existing water tanks in the UK were converted to this smart technology, then they could provide about 100 gigawatt hours of storage capacity. That's more than 10 times as much as the UK's largest pumped hydro facility at Dinorwig in North Wales. And unlike batteries, these tanks don't care about the number of cycles they're put through either. There's no degradation in the heating system capacity over time, and if in the unlikely event that an element fails, then it can simply be swapped out without having to replace the tank or any of the other hardware. Mixergy provide a 25-year warranty on their tanks, but they expect them to last way longer than that. The tanks can fully heat and discharge up to 3 times a day, so over a 25-year period, that's potentially tens of thousands of cycles. To future-proof the technology, as we move towards a net zero carbon world in 2050, the tanks have been made compatible with any kind of power source, including rooftop solar PV systems, which can divert excess solar power into the tank instead of exporting it back into the grid, and of course the heat pumps that the UK government are extremely keen for households to adopt over the coming years.
This was the part of the video that I wanted to feature and provoke today's presenters and debate. Maybe it's even a bit offensive for some people of the audience that we are featuring such an actually such a simple device. But sometimes innovation is about simplicity. It's not about also over engineering or too complex solutions. And the other thing that I wanted to underline with this video is that we are really looking for complex solutions when it comes to solving the issue of heating. We have to consider the comfort, the affordability, the clean air, the climate aspect of everything. And I think that we are really looking for the future solutions that combine that. In this case, we also have a device which is a cheap energy storage and quite a lasting one compared to, for example, batteries and other technologies that are currently on the hype. With this, I have to partly leave today's event. I'm very happy that everything is on record because I'll be able to follow up. And I suggest and advise everyone to share the links for the live streaming and later on for the options for your friends and colleagues to review the conference. And I will try to be at least partly within the conference, but now I have to join another event. Good luck with today's session.
Thank you, Gennady. That it was really interesting what you shared. And now we are going into the presentations, into the first session of the day. So I want to give the word to Dimitar Tsonev and Kristina Petrova from Samsung Climate Solutions. Could you share your screen?
Just a second. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
No, in our company, it was forbidden to use Zoom. So it's a bit difficult right now, but I will manage.
We have the same issue. Hello, Boyan speaking from Danfoss.
Hello, Boyan.
Yes, we are using our personal computers now.
Okay, do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. I'm managing pretty well then. Thank you very much for this honor being here with you. Thank you, Zazemiata Friends of the Earth organization. Thank you, Svetlu, for inviting us. We're really happy. It's a big honor to be here with you today. We are very interested to see also the presentations of Danfoss and Hoval, great companies with great people. And after our presentation, we will for sure stay for their panels as well. So my name is Kristina Petrova, and together with Dimitar Tsonev, we're in charge of the air conditioning business of Samsung in Bulgaria. We are a trade office. Our headquarters is currently in Netherlands, the first one, and the second one is in Korea. So we don't have much time. Svetlu gave us only 20 minutes, so I will hurry up a bit. Let me make a short introduction about the company. Once upon a time in South Korea, a miracle happened, and Samsung was established in the city of Daegu, South Korea in 1938. Everything started with a small commercial shop which was importing different goods outside and inside of the city. All the trading was based in South Korea, of course, and it was established by 3 families. And the symbolic meaning of Samsung means 3 stars, each star for 1 family. Samsung Electronics was found 30 years later, in 1969. What we have done during the years, in 1970, there was the black and white TV produced. After that, the stereo sound bar. In 1974 was our first air conditioner. You can see how beautiful it looks. I wish I had one. Together with the refrigerator and washing machine. In 80s, the color TV came to the market. In 1979, the camera, and the mobile phones that we use so much today was 1988 established. We made many innovations during the years, but Samsung has put a lot of efforts to make cutting-edge technology, energy saving, and innovative in the last maybe 10-15 years. And we will focus basically on the air-to-water heat pumps today, but together with them, we're going to show you also some of our most innovative products. What's typical for Samsung is that we're investing 6.3% of our annual sales back in research and development. And this is why in the last years, we are gaining more and more market share, because our products are really providing comfort, energy saving, they're environmentally friendly. And people are starting to look more and more for our solutions. Our air conditioners are Eurovent certified. Eurovent certification means that all the COPs, EERs that we're presenting in our catalogs, they can be checked. All the values can be checked at Eurovent website. It's an organization that is official German, and it's actually saying that yes, what you have put as a data, as efficiency in your catalogs, it's true, and we stand behind that. So as I mentioned, we have many solutions starting from residential aircon to small commercial systems, bigger systems, VRF, and eco heating systems, which are actually our air-to-water solutions. So let me start by introducing what we are really good at. We are really good at creating a microclimate, which is made by a wind-free solution. Wind-free solution, according to the American Association of Engineers, means that the velocity of the air inside the room is less than 0.15 meters per second, which is actually considered to be no wind. So, of course, this presentation is about the energy efficiency, but the comfort in the room, together with the sensors that we have for room occupation and systems with artificial intelligence, which are making a working model of the equipment, so that the equipment can understand how the people are using the air conditioning systems. This also is related to energy savings and saving the environment, of course. So wind-free, we have wall-mounted units, we have 4-way cassettes, 1-way cassettes, and basically in wind-free mode, as you can see here in this section, the wind-free is passing slightly through 21,000 microholes in the corpus of the body, and it's fantastic. It's very appropriate for rooms like sleeping rooms where we have babies, small children, etc. It's really a fantastic solution. I just want to share this cutting-edge innovation with you. Also, of course, for not only residential use, but also commercial use in office areas, women are always cold, as you know. Men, they feel hot, they want to switch on the air conditioners, and this solution is basically solving this problem. I will let my colleague Dimitar Tsonev to speak more about the technical part. We are starting to move slowly in the efficiency side of our systems. You're muted.
Hello from my side. On this slide is shown our four-flow compressor, which is much more efficient, and it provides also flush injection, which increases the refrigerant flow, and this way increasing also the entire energy efficiency of the system. The compressor is our own production, and it's very good quality and energy efficiency. Thanks.
So
also I can add that with this flush injection, we can keep the capacity in the minus temperature range. For example, you can see on the graph that on minus 10 or more, minus 15, we reach at least. We can go down up to minus 25 degrees without any issues for the system to continue operating.
Yes, Dimitar is practically speaking about this line. I'm not sure you see my mouse. Yeah, here, this line. This is Samsung efficiency at minus temperatures. And this is another company, a company D that is a market leader right now in Bulgarian market. So we are improving a lot during the years due to the investments that we are making. So now we're moving to our air-to-water heat pumps, eco-heating systems. Everything started a few months. We put a lot of focus in eco-heating systems a few months ago when our headquarters, following EU directives, decided to put a lot of efforts to expand the sales of eco-heating systems. And everything started from UK. We are developing many projects with those systems right now. And we are following the trend. I hope that Eastern Europe can respond this time as fast as Western Europe is taking care of the environment. So Dimitar, if you want to present our solution here, or I should do it?
Sure. We have different types of heat pumps. All of them are basically air source heat pumps. We are heating water through the ambient outside air. We have a split version on the first picture shown with an outdoor unit and a hydro unit inside the building. The hydro unit is providing hot or cold water for heating or cooling, and of course domestic hot water is also possible to be produced via the hydro unit. We have this unit in a split version, as I said. We have it also as a monotype, which is shown on the first picture, where we have only one outdoor unit which is providing hot or cold water via freeway valve. Also a domestic hot water tank can be heated. And we also have another interesting product, which is TDM, which can combine the classical air-to-water heat pump together with direct expansion indoor units. So as you can see, we have the hydro unit, which is the classical scheme, let's say, and also the direct expansion indoor units, which are connected to the refrigerant part of the piping. So in this way, we can provide comfortable heating during the winter, for example, via floor heating, and also cooling in the summer via classical indoor units, high wall, consoles, duct units, so on, which is a very interesting combined solution and
yes,
a type of unique solution, let's say.
Yes, it's a fantastic solution, because in this case we need only one outdoor unit, and in terms of space saving, in terms of quantity of refrigerant inside the system, we're really optimized this product.
Also, the installation is pretty easy because refrigerant pipes are not very big. They are with small diameter, easy to install. Sometimes it's easier to install it on a classical scheme with fan coil units for cooling.
Yes, that's true. That is also lowering the investment costs. So as I told you, this system requires only one outdoor unit. It's our Ferrari air-to-water heat pump, and we're very happy with this product. Also, our partners love it. And here, this is the quick heating with TDM technology. Actually, we focused on improving the heating time because you know, the heating with water, it takes more time to heat up and after that to cool down. So we improved with 80% our system. And this is a split of the installation of TDM Plus. As Dimitar explained, we have the one outdoor unit, the hydro unit. There is a refrigerant pipe here and refrigerant pipe here for the indoor units, which are on direct expansion. And the water pipes after that. This system has a living temperature up to 55 degrees. It's a lower temperature. After a few slides, you will see another one which has up to 65 degrees heating temperature. What we're good at, we have world-class efficiency for these systems, and as I said, this can easily be checked in Eurovent website. Our operation range is pretty low, down to minus 25 degrees. We can connect up to 7 indoor units at direct expansion to 1 outdoor unit, which is also suitable for bigger houses or bigger apartments. You can control it smartly with the Wi-Fi kit via your mobile phone. We have a pretty big range of indoor units, and the capacity for that system, time division multi, it's up to 16 kilowatts. And here we're sharing some features of the high efficiency of the heat exchanger. We are changing the components of our products every year almost to make them to be really innovative and to be more energy efficient and environmentally friendly. As I mentioned, yes, we go to minus 25 degrees secured heating in the winter, and in the summer up to 35 degrees for cooling. And as I mentioned, actually, yeah, we have right now 2 systems. First system is using the older refrigerant R410, and the new systems are with R32, the environmentally friendly refrigerant. And with the old refrigerant, we can go to 55 degrees of living water temperature, and with the new refrigerant up to 65 degrees. And here you can see the comparisons also in terms of capacity. The new refrigerant is much more, is performing much better. And Dimitar?
Yes, it's similar to the previous one, the graph with the compressor. Here we show that at -10 degrees, we keep 90% of the heating capacity. So it's very good also for designers, which usually check minus temperature, what is the capacity drop. And in our EHS, it's everything is fine, and at -10 we are providing almost the same capacity.
Yeah, which is a really good performance of this system.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, our eco heating system, they have A++ energy grade, and in terms of efficiency, we are hoping that next year we will have A3+. Here also you can see a comparison of the efficiency based on the kilowatts of the equipment, from 4.4 kilowatts up to 16 kilowatts, monophase and three-phase.
Hey, to какво направи, бе?
Someone should stop their mic. For our systems, we can connect them with smart grid and to photovoltaic panels, as you could see at the previous slides, which also boosts the energy efficiency of the building and the cost saving. As we mentioned, we can connect up to 7 indoor units. You can see for how big apartment or house they can be applicable, from ducted units, which cannot be seen, to floor standing, to wall standing units. There are various possibilities. Here is another option that is leading to comfort and to energy saving as well. This is the 3-step silent mode that the outdoor units can be set to execute every evening. Most of our clients are using this because especially in the house complex, the closed house complexes, there are many houses, and the noise should be reduced during the night. Here is the range of the indoor units, from 2.2 up to 16 kilowatts of capacity, especially the hydro units. We have a various range of remote controllers. They're again produced by us. In terms of connection, of communication between the devices, we are really good. And we connect to different communication protocols easily, so we are very flexible in this part also. And what we have from last year is the hydro unit, which has integrated domestic hot water tank inside of it. It has the eco-friendly R32 refrigerant. And the living water temperature here, because of the refrigerant, is 65 degrees. The next slide here, you will see it much better. So here is the tank integrated unit. It has the size of a standard refrigerator, more or less. I have bought one and I have it in my kitchen. It's pretty easy for installation. It has the zone control, which is again contributing to the energy efficiency of the building. very user-friendly remote controllers. Backup heater can be installed if it's decided that it needs a little boosting for the capacity. And as we mentioned, we can also connect the smart grid and the solar energy panel in order to boost the system and save energy. You can control it via your mobile phone, very flexible, very easy, on and off, just plug and play basically. And we are coming to the topic now. The low CO2 emission, the new R32 systems from Samsung are helping us reduce the CO2 emissions with 70%. I hope that in the future we can grow also in this part, and I believe we will do it because we are really investing a lot of money for innovations. And here is our superior energy label grade, the all capacity range, the seasonal COP is A3+, and we are very, very proud with this. And we are speaking about the smaller eco-heating systems from 4.4 to 9 kilowatts. You can see here for the split and for the monoblock. Really, really spectacular performance from our equipment here. What we have as tools to support people when they're deciding to invest in such equipment in order to lower the CO2 emission, in order to lower the energy consumption. We have the special tools that we are using to calculate everything, to calculate all the consumption and so on. Here you can see it much better with extended view. You see here you have the cooling load, the cooling energy consumption, everything is written, everything you have this information. It's really really user-friendly. You can see in every month from January to December your total consumption and so on.
Sorry to interrupt, but we went well over 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So if we can just give the stage to Danfoss, and maybe we can include some of the remaining slides, like in our Q&A sessions.
Actually, Svet, thank you. I'm finished. I'm done with the presentation. These are
perfect.
Our contacts. So
yes. Thanks.
If you have any questions, you can contact us in the Q&A session or privately. You can see the contact. So if you have any questions regarding our products, please contact us.
Thank you, Christina and Dimitar. I think that your systems are looking really interesting, especially with the versatility that they can give, and with providing heating, cooling, and also the possibility to integrate renewables as solar panels. This is something that we're going to look in the future. So your system is providing really great versatility, which is the best selling point of these kind of systems that you just presented.
Thank you. Sorry, just a final thing. Thank you very much. We have a lot to learn from you. We have worked with you on several projects, so we'll be happy to be partnering with your organizations.
Thanks a lot. And now, Christina, you can just stop the screen sharing so we can go to the next presentation where Bojan Kusarov from Danfoss is going to present us his company's solutions for multifamily building renovation. So, Bojan?
Yes, hello guys, hello everybody. Just confirm please if you see my screen and if you hear me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hello.
Super.
Yes, Bojan, we can see you. Just yes. I was
Okay.
just telling you that you can go to full screen.
Yeah. Okay, hello everybody. One more time from me. Many thanks to Svetlu and the team for the invitation. Also a nice presentation from colleagues from Samsung. Good to be in the company of Samsung and also Hovo for this panel. Yeah, the scope of my presentation actually will be first to represent me and my and also the company, but also you will see our solutions for multifamily houses. I will not go so much in technical details since for 15-20 minutes this is not possible, but I would like of course to show you what kind of solutions we have in our of course unique portfolio. A few words about myself because I don't think that maybe some of you doesn't know me. So 36-year-old from Sofia, 5 years in Danfoss already, starting my 6th year in the company. I have also engineering and economic background and plus 10 years of experience of selling energy efficient products and solutions. Yeah, in some international companies. I have in my career so far, I have been in charge of not only in Bulgaria but of a lot of European markets, and especially markets in Bulgaria like Kosovo, Albania, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and so on. So actually, it's in my experience so far, you know, it has been only Bulgaria from the countries under me, which is in EU. So yeah. About Danfoss, we are around 30,000 people at the moment. So we are represented with sales offices in over 100 countries in all over the world. Of course, we have 3 very big markets like USA, Germany, and China. Those are our top 3 markets in the world. And we have 71 factories all over the world. Actually, I must say that we are really proud that also in Bulgaria, we have here in our location factory, we are producing here components for Danfoss climate solution products for heating applications. In our factory here in Bulgaria, we have like around 200 people who are working here. And actually, all the components that we produce, we supply all over the world with them. So for me, that's a really a great thing, and it makes me proud, of course, to have a factory in our location. We are privately owned company. It's Clausen family who is the owner of our company, and of course, our headquarters is in Denmark, in Nordbrook. So actually, that's the place that in 1943, Mats Clausen, actually the founder of Danfoss, starts it all. Interesting fact, actually, maybe some of you doesn't know. First radiator thermostat in the world is patented from Mats Clausen, and actually in 1944. They are starting to produce, you know, radiator thermostats in Denmark. So this is the first product produced by our company. Yeah, a lot of conversations we had. Also, the colleagues before me, they speak about, you know, all these, let's say, relevant things about the time of where we are living. We are talking about energy efficiency. We are talking about also about CO2 neutrality. Having in mind all the challenges of the world at the moment, we must be aware and we must recognize in order to be relevant some megatrends. As a global leader, of course, our company recognized these megatrends a few years ago. And of course, I will name them one by one. It's digitalization, it's urbanization, it's food supply, it's electrification, and it's climate change. So those 5 mega trends was recognized by our company years ago, and actually based on those facts, we set to ourselves some very let's say very high targets. As a global leader, we are also responsible for acting as a leader. So what we did in our agenda as a company, as a global leader, is as I said, we will be 100% CO2 neutral company until 2030. So this means around we have around 8 years to achieve that. It's a challenging task. What means 100% CO2 neutral company? This means that also the vendors who are supplying our factory with some products and with some raw materials has to be also a CO2 neutral company. Of course, now we have the policy of changing our company cars to electrical cars and so on and so on. Energy efficiency projects in all our factories are already done in order to reduce the CO2 emissions, and all our factory to be 100% CO2 neutral and energy efficient. So it's a challenging task. Another thing that we did in the beginning of this year, we established a new segment. It was significant change for our company. It was a great and also a great opportunity. So one of our main segments we put into one. The new segment is called Danfoss Climate Solution, and it's apart from former heating and former cooling segment. All of you know that we had a unique portfolio in each one of these sub-segments in the past. Now with the new segment, we will be 100% relevant, and we will be with the unique portfolio all over the world in order to achieve the big targets that we already set for ourselves. And what is the main goal of this? Of course, to accelerate this green transition, to help the world, and also to give the opportunity, and of course to in each building, everywhere where Danfoss products and solutions are in, to assure that we have world-class energy efficiency solution. Speaking about our portfolio and about areas where we are focused. As I mentioned today, I will speak about solutions in multi-family and single-family houses, but also our unique portfolio is also taking a part in the commercial buildings, food retail chain, industrial processes, and also industrial refrigeration. So everywhere where you saw these mega trend topics, we try to be relevant and to be able to support with our solution. Speaking about multi-family houses, we have, in my point of view, maybe one of the best or unique portfolio of components to supply in order to this energy efficiency to be achieved. For multi-family houses, we have several kinds of solutions that we can propose, components, of course, starting with radiator thermostats, room controllers for ventilation and heating, electrical floor heating, something that in the past, maybe some of you know as Devi. 10 years ago we acquired a company called Devi. So this full portfolio is now part of Danfoss portfolio. We also have hydraulic floor heating solutions. In the past, this was not traditional portfolio and products for Danfoss, but in the last 3, 4, 5 years, we are getting more and more new products there, and more new applications there. And of course, we are absolutely relevant at the moment with biggest competitors there, and the traditional companies who are supplying only those type of products and solutions. Smart heating in applications. This is something new which we developed a few years ago, and of course now it's more and more relevant, as I said. And last but not least, flood stations. It's a great solution for multi-family houses. Where we are relevant, what are our main let's say verticals? You can see that all those product lines that I already mentioned, they have, of course, you can use those products everywhere, in multi-family houses, in single-family houses, in the commercial buildings, also in everywhere. I mean, core applications. Core applications are for heating and cooling, of course, district heating, domestic hot water, ventilation, balancing. So everywhere where we are talking about building, of course, we are able to propose our products and solutions. Starting with radiator thermostats, as I mentioned, traditional products of Danfoss. Here we have complete portfolio of sensors for radiator valves, liquid and gas filled for different temperature ranges, and of course for different applications. We have standard sensors here, and we also have sensors who can be used in public spaces with lock shields and so on. Also standard valves for sensors we have, and we can supply to our customers and to our installers. It's a complete portfolio of standard valves. Of course, here we have the standard one that everybody knows, and also we have the one with the presetting. Depends from the application. It can be straight, it can be angle. It doesn't matter. We have it all. Design range. Many of you, I think, recognize this inox sensor and valve. Really proud to say that this product is produced here in our factory in Bulgaria. This is the top range. A lot of bathroom applications here that maybe some of you already know. Last but not least, I would like to mention a few words about the dynamic valve of Danfoss. It's a quite new application. It was developed few years ago, and it is mixture between standard radiator valve and balancing valve. It's a great solution for multi-family houses. It significantly helps for the energy efficiency, and it significantly helps the right amount of water to went through every radiator. What I would like also to say that not only for multi-family houses, we had in the last year 2 very big projects with this kind of valve in Bulgaria, 2 hospitals. Also, we supplied such kind of products for the hospitals, and actually the results that already we are achieving with using such kind of products are really, really great. It is proven already that between 3 and 5% it can decrease the usage of hot water, and to help the energy efficiency. So it's a fantastic product, and really proud to have it in our portfolio. Room thermostats. Actually, this is something very new to Danfoss. It's something that it's not our core product, let's say. Of course, we have some applications and some places that we can be relevant with such kind of products, but it's not the core product for us. Nevertheless, we have quite good portfolio of products for heating, controlling the heating temperature in the rooms, and also of course we have these units who are actually helping us to control also the ventilation heat recovery. Something that we are really strong, I think, in Eastern Europe, we are actually the market leader with this kind of products. I'm talking about electrical floor heating, part from ex-Devi product portfolio. I mentioned a few words about Devi, company which we acquired maybe 10 years ago. For multi-family houses, of course, we have in our portfolio these heating mats, of course, thermostats for controlling the room temperature, and of course we have these outdoor heating solutions. Something which is not on my presentation, but I would like to say a few words about it. In the last several years, having in mind also the trend in Bulgaria for having these high-end multi-family houses, more and more we are supplying also our products and solutions from electrical heating portfolio there for external applications. What I mean, for example, for the multi-family houses, which there are some garages and so on, we are selling cables for the ramps who are like before the garages, and also we have these roof applications, which we are very strong also there. So absolutely complete portfolio from electrical heating products there. I mentioned about hydraulic floor heating. 5 years ago, I remember that it was something that we almost didn't sell, and almost it was not so big interest, and actually we were not so relevant. At the moment, we have complete portfolio, and in the last 3 years, we significantly grow in this area. The demand for floor heating, actually hydraulic floor heating in Bulgaria, especially, and also in Eastern Europe, the trend is really, really amazing. And also it will continue in the next years. One of the most energy efficiency solutions and really, really recognized everywhere, and of course, very comfortable for every home. We have the complete portfolio of products, controls, actuators, manifolds, panels, and so on. One thing as an input from my side, of course, here we have one of the best products that we are selling, these actuators, which are produced also in our factory in Bulgaria. So we are supplying whole the world with our actuators, which are produced here in our factory in Bulgaria. Electrical smart heating thermostats and smart heating portfolio. Yeah, so we have several solutions also here. Of course, we have our traditional ETRV Eco. This is now the second generation, which was awarded with the Red Dot Award for design. Also, we have our great system, Danfoss Ali. Actually, complete portfolio of products which I showed. It can be also controlled in the smart way with your smartphone remotely. But it is since 2 years ago it was announced that this new portfolio, Danfoss Ali, which is now operated via this Zigbee protocol, which makes it 100% accessible and communicative. Last but not least, a few words. I know that I'm on the way of the end. 1 minute. Flat stations, great solution, really, really amazing solution. Super energy efficiency. Each apartment is by his own. Using such kind of solutions, we have energy efficiency, and also last but not least, we have 100% correct bills for using of energy consumption. Several products here we have. I will not go one by one. I would like also to say that we have a great software available. Some of the designers which will speak after us in the next panel know this software. One more thing that we are really proud, Bulgaria, our colleague here from Bulgaria, Todor Langochev, designed and developed this software Danfoss, so it can help to our customers and to designers to, of course, to make easier their products and and more energy efficient. So I know that I'm in the end. Thank you one more time, and if you have questions, I will be more than happy to answer in our Q&A session. All the best.
Thank you, Bojan. It was really interesting. I have a few questions for you, but let's wait 20 more minutes. So if you could just stop your screen sharing, and I can give the stage and the word to João.
Just give me a second. I don't know this software, and for me it's also hard to. Sorry. Yeah.
Bojan, it's on the top of your screen. I also found it today. Да, чувам те. Svetlu, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I was just saying that now the stage that João, it's the turn to João. If they can go on full screen mode and present a little bit faster, it will be helpful, because actually we don't have so much time.
Здравейте от Ховел. Да кажете, чуваме ли се добре?
Good morning from Howell. Can you hear as well? Yes, indeed, we can hear you very well. First off, we would like to thank the organizers from Zazemiata. Thank you for inviting us to be part of your conference on sustainable heating. We are very happy to meet our colleagues from Danfoss and Samsung and present together working excellent solutions for Bulgaria. My name is Svetelina Spaskova. My name is Stanimira Dimitrova. The two of us will present to you within our 20-minute slot what our solutions are for the building sector. Who is Howell? We have many years of experience in the area of air conditioning. We take warehouses, gyms, schools, offices. However, today Stanimira and I will talk mostly on residential buildings. Such solutions would help the country and Eastern Europe as a whole to make this transition to sustainable heating and increase the use of renewables. What is home? Home is the place where we seek maximum comfort with minimum energy cost. These are the specificities of the residential solutions for air conditioning, heating, and ventilation. I will present to you the solutions that we offer to new construction and also housing that is to be renovated and equipped with new energy efficiency installations. We would touch upon the important matter of ambient air quality in the home. Sustainable heating is important, but it's not sufficient in order to create the perfect microclimate at home. As our colleagues from Samsung said regarding the future of residential installations, likewise, Howell works on thermal pumps, air to water and water to water solutions. We have a lot of experience in many types of installations. We have provided Howell solutions to many homes across Europe. you see the two main ranges of products that we offer. The thermal pumps installations, air to water and water to water. Very reliable, very eco-friendly, excellent seasonal coefficient of performance and IEC performance. An interesting characteristic of our air to water thermal pump. There were specific requirements for reducing noise in urban areas. That's why our outdoor unit has levels of 30 decibel. Our indoor unit is very well insulated and does not contribute to noise increase in the outdoor unit. In fact, outdoor units are as noiseless as to be mounted outside your bedroom windows. These are overall solutions that we offer to homes. Starting out with a thermal pump installation, then they can be upgraded with additional solar panels that would use renewable solar energy, or upgraded to ventilation systems based on recuperation, which again contribute to improving the energy efficiency in the house, not only to heating and good microclimate. Howell solutions can be installed not only in buildings under construction right now, they can also be adapted to existing homes. On the slide, you can see two pictures showing our wide range of solutions and combinations. So you see the thermal pumps, air to water and water to water, combined with hot water provided by solar installations. It can be used to assist the work of the thermal pump and also for heating. We want to refer also to the important aspects to be taken into consideration when renovating your home. Many households in the country use boilers on fossil fuels for heating. Their installations are of an older type. It isn't always possible simply to replace the energy source. When thermal pump solution is selected, it works with lower temperatures and necessitates certain steps to adapt the internal installation of the building in case it uses radiators with heat exchanger 8060. Considering the energy efficiency measures, floor heating is recommended, convection heating. The major advantage, as Samsung said, is that nowadays the thermal pump installations have taken a step forward. In Bulgaria, almost all the requests that we receive request heating and cooling. In other ways, we are striding widely ahead in achieving comfort. Everyone who seeks heating and cooling can receive consultations regarding the pipe network, the diameters, the characteristics of their current heating installation and what it needs to be adapted. As said earlier, we should think not only about the heating and ambient air temperature, but the ambient air quality as well. The Zemята have been fighting for a long time to improve that. They want to cut the use of wood which is moist and reduce the number of heavy smog days in big cities. Let me draw your attention to the fact that the air temperature in our home is not the only thing which matters. The air quality is also very important. Whole systems can be controlled via a common controller, the Toptronic E. This controller connects and manages all whole devices and equipment in a symbiotic manner. Thus, it provides for high energy efficiency with optimum comfort. A very useful feature of the system is that it allows to monitor the weather forecast for the next 3 days. This allows the system to adapt itself and prepare its working modes in such a manner that the energy costs would be decreased and not use excessively energy. A very nice feature that we recently integrated in our smart system is the possibility to integrate a photovoltaic system for electricity to the cooling and heating systems. As said earlier at the conference, Europe, Austria, Hungary, the neighboring countries undertake action for green heating, and electricity production follows suit. Many European countries such as Germany, Austria, Switzerland have requirements in place for newly constructed buildings that buildings are equipped with photovoltaics and electric charging stations for cars. These trends will reach Eastern Europe. We hope this would be sooner rather than later. Considering the trends, Hubble provides an option to integrate photovoltaics. The idea is that by monitoring the weather forecast, the photovoltaic system can make great use of sunny days and generate a lot of energy. This would trigger the activation of the cooling and heating system to store energy during the sunny part of the day for the later part when such energy would be necessary. This means that use from the conventional electricity grid would be reduced, and this heating will be based entirely on green energy from the solar panels. We hope that this would contribute to the smart management of homes. The big residential buildings in Bulgaria and Eastern Europe comprise a large part of the building stock. My colleague will provide to you what our solutions are for multi-family residential buildings. We have systemic solutions for them as well. It could be local for any individual apartment, but it would be far more energy efficient if a common heating and cooling system is installed. This would provide for the maximum savings and minimum costs. That is why our focus is on system solutions, centralized system solutions for an overall block of flats. These are based on thermal pumps, air to water, water to water. They can be supplemented with buffers, boilers. We can provide different combinations for hot water generation in order to find the best option for this particular block of flats. It could be done through solar panels, thermal pumps, energy, heat exchange station. We're very flexible. We have a wide range of products, which allows us to combine many different units to best meet the requirements of the site. Furthermore, we provide possibilities to provide comfortable ventilation when renovating old buildings, and this would also decrease costs for heating. Here you can see a scheme for the production of domestic hot water by means of solar panels. No matter how well we insulate our homes, hot water is a current cost. In order to warm up water from 10 to 40 degrees, we use up the same amount of energy. In other ways, the renovation of the building has no bearing on the heating of the domestic hot water. Regardless of the season. That is why this current cost should be minimized. One of the ways to do it is use the renewables, such as solar energy, and mount solar panels on the roof. It would be difficult for every apartment to install such a system. That's why it is recommended to have one centralized system for the block of flats. You can see the system on the slide. There should be a system with common boilers, which then lead the water to the local boilers in each apartment. If the water is warm enough, it's directly used. If the sun is not strong enough, for example, in winter, only then the local energy source, the thermal pump, is turned on and heat up the domestic hot water. This indeed decreases considerably costs for domestic hot water and provides an interesting aspect which can be integrated in new buildings and in retrofitted buildings. Regarding energy centers, thermal pump, be they air to water or water to water, do not have such huge heating and cooling capacities as boilers do. However, our thermal pumps can work very well in cascades. One can install a cascade of many thermal pumps. The result would be excellent modulation between their power, excellent synchronization, combination with different buffers. The distribution of the heating circles, it can be done at the energy center, and overall it provides an excellent systemic solution. It can be supplemented by solar panels and used to the best advantage all renewables. One example, you can see the blueprint here. An excellent example of good use of renewables. The main source for heating for this block of flats is geothermal pump. It generates energy that is stored in a buffer. Solar panels are mostly used for the boilers on the ground floor, and when hot water is not necessary, the control system transfers the energy and the solar panels can heat the buffer. This would assist the heating, especially in such warm seasons when there is lots of sun and no need for heating. This economic mode really contributes best to green energy. So this is an example of a working good solution that we have. Now, when such a centralized system is installed, very often our clients choose local systems. The Toptronic Supervisor is a specifically designed software which combines all whole equipment, not only within one block of flats or a number of houses. It has the capacity to put together a huge segment of single-family homes. For example, a whole complex can be integrated in this tool. This would facilitate the lives of property managers because they can control and supervise the systems, see whether they work best to their capacity or if some adjustments are necessary. At the same time, this tool provides accountability because reports can be built on the basis of the measuring tools in the system. Thus, the customer can have a clear view of the costs and use of energy. Thanks to this Toptronic system and the controls, this matter has the best possible solution. Furthermore, the customers have their own accounts, enabling them to check their bills, costs, kilowatt hours. They have their accounts with account name and passwords. They can monitor their home, but the facility manager has the overall picture and can best manage the site for the purposes of energy efficiency. If we look at the bigger picture, this is not only for houses or blocks of flats. We can offer a centralized solution as a central heating system for a neighborhood or for a whole town. Such energy centers can feature thermal pumps, solar panels, all the products that we have shown you so far. What is interesting is that in this case, we should consider the possibility for cogeneration, not only a complex for heating, but also for a guaranteed energy production, which is produced in a sustainable way. And we're talking huge capacities when referring to a whole neighborhood. Here you can see an example of including even industrial capacities in such combinations, if any industrial capacities are in existence in the neighborhood. Depending on the needs of all the buildings in the group, a wide range of solutions can be combined. Heat exchange stations, solar panels, heat pumps, all the peripheries, boilers, it would provide the best solution for the site. The cogenerators can work on different types of gas, which makes them future-proof and sustainable. So far, you saw solutions for sustainable heating and energy savings. These are always the first matters that everyone is concerned with. But there is also another matter that we need to consider, and that is the ambient air quality. All the energy efficiency measures provide a microclimate which should be good. Retrofitting old buildings is gaining popularity. Indeed, this decreases energy costs, but seals the home. The infiltration which existed in the past is gone, so humidity may increase in the apartment. That is why one should think about additional ventilation, which is comfortable and based on recuperation. This is the future. This is an important aspect to consider, not only when a home is renovated, because the ambient air quality in the home is very important. You can see here the main problems that we encounter if we do not have additional ventilation in the home. This is an example for the evenings and mornings from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. For homes with 2 people with no comfortable ventilation, you see that there are high levels of CO2 in the mornings in a bedroom with 2 people, a lot over the hygiene quality for ambient air quality. This cannot happen if there is comfortable ventilation providing fresh air around the clock without the need to open the windows. Another important problem, especially in big cities, is pollution. It may happen that you open the window to air the room, but the air that comes in is polluted. Noise levels may increase and there is no comfort in the home. That is why such ventilation should be considered because it prevents mold, humidity, noise, polluted air, energy, provides for energy saving. The air which comes in the home by means of energy recuperation, which is very efficient, is of best quality, and the thermal pump would use 10 to 20% less to heat the air. This is a 3D project of a new apartment. It's always easy to act when a building is under construction. You can integrate it in the blueprint. You can install it as it is constructed, but it can also be adapted to all buildings. These are very compact system solutions. They can be easily adapted. For example, in the Sofia city center, an ancient home that has historic value, they installed the ventilation. You can see that it can be done in renovated homes as well. Well, that was our presentation. We showed you some of the solutions. So we have many others. Currently, the green energy focus is what we showed you. With all the equipment that we have provided, aim to protect the environment, use green energy, and comply with the measures for the future. Thank you for your attention. Now we are waiting for your questions.
I would also like to thank all the presenters so far. It was indeed a very interesting panel. So I think that we can now start the Q&A session. There are already a couple of questions in there. So I would be very happy if within the next 5 to 10 minutes we will be able to focus on the main aspects because we are a little bit pressed for time. One of the questions I have for all the panelists is whether in Bulgaria we do not talk enough about the ventilation systems, their capabilities, and what they can do when buildings are renovated and retrofitted. Perhaps this is a question to us, to you too, yeah. This is what we are also wondering about. Why do we not talk about that kind of a ventilation, bearing in mind that it is very much needed? Perhaps Bulgaria is lagging a little bit behind in that sense, because in West Europe, to the best of our knowledge, this type of ventilation is already becoming obligatory. It's anyhow very popular. Every other home maybe already has one of these systems installed. This is a segment which is picking up in Bulgaria. We started promoting this kind of solutions back in 2014. And we found that back then, the architects, the designers were not, the market in general were not ready to accept such a system. The customer was not properly informed about the benefits of such a system. We as designers and all our colleagues know that back then the customers were simply not familiar with the added value of such a ventilation system. Thanks to awareness raising, though, and thanks to the opportunity to publish articles about that and give examples from West Europe, something that we do and the other colleagues of ours who have such systems on the market, we dare say that the situation is turning. So more and more often we get requests from customers who are familiar with the fact that there are such systems and they know that it's good to integrate such a ventilation system to support energy efficient and low energy consumption homes. So more and more we get that kind of request. So the trends are turning, but perhaps it's happening at a slower pace than we would like it to happen. I agree with our colleagues from Hobel. Indeed, they gave a very exhaustive answer to this question. What I noticed a few days ago has to do with the work of some banks. They're already providing information to their customers about the program that they have, which is a co-funded program under EU funding. Under this program, they are capable of supporting that kind of projects. This indeed is good news, but anyhow, awareness raising is very, very important. That's why we rely on the wonderful NGO sector to support us in that. Indeed, customers need to have information about that in order to be able to appreciate what the design team is offering by way of solutions. Yes, indeed, we need to provide them with the necessary information about operational costs so that the customers can actually forget much more easily the already dated solution about how a microclimate is supposed to be created. When you renovate public buildings, outpatient clinics or schools, do you have such solutions implemented? Because I believe that the need there would be even greater. Yes, in bigger buildings is where there most often is central ventilation. And this was, in my opinion, the issue about awareness raising, because people tended to believe that ventilation is needed only in public buildings, in hospitals where there is specialized ventilation, in operating theaters, for example. So Bulgarians tended to think that ventilation is something meant for the bigger buildings alone. When we open the windows at home to air the premises, that would solve it. Ventilation systems for outpatient clinics and schools are also making their way into a broader scale implementation. I have impressions from Sofia municipal schools where there are talks about that, but nothing's happening in practice. But since our main focus here was on residential buildings, the solutions we talked about really have to do with better awareness raising for the customers. The good thing is that once people have renovated their homes and installed such a ventilation system, which does not consume any energy, 50 to 60 watts, you can imagine what the benefits are. You can imagine what the benefits are from not letting in cool or warm air in the premises through the window. That kind of air provided by the ventilation gives a completely different quality of life to the customers. At schools, when ambient air is rich in oxygen, it helps children give better results, have better results, and feel much more comfortable while they sit in class. Indeed, we need to make sure that people are more and more informed, and we need to continue disseminating that kind of information. Indeed, truth is that it's predominantly privately owned buildings that can afford for such a more advanced technology, whereas in state-owned buildings, the situation is still very difficult. Yeah, perhaps this is yet to come. Thank you. I have another question, if I may. What are the policies that your companies have in terms of the potential to recycle your products, to have them returned and recycled? Yesterday, we talked a lot about recycling and the recyclability of solar panels. I was wondering whether customers would like to have that opportunity to be able to return the product and have it recycled. What happens after the end of the life cycle of your products? At Samsung, we are obliged to do that. We have contracts with recycling companies all over the world. We get the necessary protocols from them, and we really abide by that obligation of ours strictly. We are very responsible to the environment in that sense. What I wanted to say was that the policy of Hovel on a global scale is very similar. As far as Bulgaria is concerned, we really haven't, the need has never arisen for us to recycle such a device, because our devices have been on the market for the past 10 years now, and their life cycle is much longer than that. But anyhow, our overall global policy is to have everything recycled. In our case, the situation is very similar. Apart from products, especially where we have a factory in this locality, the situation is even stricter and more stringent. Everybody in our company who deals with production needs to comply 100% with all the regulations in terms of recyclability. In our case, everything that our colleagues have already mentioned also applies to our situation. As to the devices which are currently in operation, our issue is not that big. Of course, we have a global policy on that. Our devices have a much longer lifespan, so it's really very rarely that they go out of operations. Thank you, Boyan. I have a final question, which I believe is very important. I can see that Dimitar Tsonev has already provided an answer to this question in the Q&A section, but anyhow, I would like to ask it to everybody else as well. So my question is, what do you think the role of the state and municipalities is in terms of the expansion of the introduction of thermal pumps, bearing in mind the high capital cost and the energy poverty in Bulgaria? So I would like to ask our colleagues from Samsung and Hoval to answer. Maybe Dimitar should read what he has already said, but I suggest that we give the floor first to our colleagues from Hoval. Thank you. It is a very important topic. What was being proposed on a mass scale were energy energy subsidies for people to start installing electric radiators and so on and so forth. My personal impression is that such products did not operate the way they should have. My impression is that ambient air quality is deteriorating, especially in cities. So these measures that have been applied so far, unfortunately, did not yield any positive results. There are no adequate programs like the ones in West Europe who would incentivize people to go for thermal pumps, to help them, to subsidize them because they use green energy. At this point in time, it is only customers who can afford to do that and who have the internal belief that they should do it, invest in such devices. Municipalities and the districts in the very bigger municipalities should take the proper adequate steps, because if, for example, we talk about Sofia, which is a city where most of the panelists live and we have our direct observations, there should be one set of measures for the central city part, and very different steps should be taken for Bojana or Moderno Predgradie or any other borough that has no gas supply or district heating, and they have no other alternatives for heating. So these are the places where the Euro funds should be channeled to, so that these funds can allow for the implementation of properly reasoned schemes for that kind of installations. Because truth be told, these are investments that not everyone can make, especially initially. That's why the municipalities need to play the role they're supposed to play through our taxes so that these solutions can reach the homes. There have been such solutions for years now, but unfortunately the Europe of the CE region does not apply these solutions in practice. It's not that we do not want that, it's just that we do not have the necessary resources to do that, right? Well, what's interesting for me is why not Bulgaria follow one of the successful models from West Europe? What would that cost? Is another question, because there are subsidies for that kind of programs after all. Such funds have been earmarked. Yes, I can only add to what I've already written. There are different ways to get such kind of support. It might be through direct support for the installation itself, maybe amounting to 10 to 20% of state aid, or this can happen via interest-free loans. Because the state is not going to make much cost on that apart from administrative cost. I believe that in Germany there are that kind of solutions, especially for thermal pumps, where they operate the meters, calculate electricity bills at a lower tariff. There are special meters. In Bulgaria, we have solutions such as installing filters at chimneys, but I'm not quite sure how sustainable that is in the long run and how it will be able to improve the situation. I believe that all companies working in this sector should continue working in that direction and keep coming up with such solutions to the decision makers. Because only in this way we will be able, both the business and the society, to gain benefits out of this and to have a better environment to live in. That's it. I just wanted to add one last thing. It doesn't boil down only to the issue that Svetlu talked about. The role of the state in general is very important in that sphere. Our colleagues from Huval said something which is particularly true, and that is resources on the part of the state. Resources does not entail only people occupying the respective positions in the administration and to have European funding. No, you need to make sure that this is all operational. You need to incentivize the business and to provide normal living conditions to everybody living in the city, village, or borough at question. Half of the time when we were willing to cooperate with people from these spheres, people representing the state, be it on a municipal level or on a national level, different ministries, I will be honest, what we are faced with in our attempt to cooperate is barely adequate. The very fact that we were the only state which up to last week had not managed to even develop its plan to for support under the Green Deal speaks for itself. Us colleagues, I believe, feel the same way, especially when we talk to our colleagues from neighboring countries who are already receiving funds under these European funds. And this is going to support a better quality of life. And in my opinion, this is the biggest issue in Bulgaria. Thank you. Thank you very much, Boyan. I would like to thank Christina and Dimitar as well. I would like to thank our colleagues from Hovel too. Now I would like to close this panel. We're going to have a brief 5-minute break before we continue with the next discussion panel, where we will be able to hear the opinion of experts working in the sphere of HVAC and energy efficiency for many years now. With them, we will discuss the opportunities for change and the hindrances preventing us from accomplishing this change, bearing in mind the goals that we have set for ourselves for decarbonization and reduction of CO2 emissions from heating. I'm going to ask all of the panelists from the first panel to stay with us, of course, if they have the time to do that, so that they can participate in our discussion, which is going to start in exactly 5 minutes.
Благодарим, Светлю.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Светлю. See you in the next panel.
малкото забавяне. Имаме лек
Hello
проблем с
again.
един
I'm
от
sorry about
панелистите.
the brief
С
delay.
присъединяването
We
на един от
had a
панелистите.
problem
Опитваме се да
joining
го
one of the
разрешим.
panelists. We're trying to solve this problem.
Междувременно обаче можем да
meantime,
започнем. Предлагам
could
да
start.
водим
I
дискусията
suggest
изцяло
that
на
we
български,
have
понеже
this
говорим за
discussion
ситуацията в
entirely in
България
Bulgarian
и как
because we're
бихме
discussing
могли
the situation in Bulgaria.
да я променим
How we could change it
към по-добро.
for the better.
Искам да дам думата в началото
I would like to
на
start by
господин
giving the
Михаил Толев
floor
от
to Mr. Mikhail
Камарата на
Tolev
инженерите
from
в
the Chamber
инвестиционното
of
проектиране
Engineers in
в
Investment
България.
Design in
Господин
Bulgaria.
Толев, ако може да
Mr.
си
Tolev,
включите камерата
please turn your camera
и
on.
набързо да очертаем какви са
Let us begin by outlining briefly what are the problems that you identify in the sector, namely regarding the transposition of European directives. Why are there delays?
При въвеждането на качествени системи,
in implementing quality building systems, as well as delays in innovating the building shell, in renovating the building shell.
Да, прекрасно.
Good morning, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you very well. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mikhail Tolev. I'm the chair of the National Professional Section in Heating, Ventilation and Climatization in the Chamber of Engineers in Investment Design.
Искам да обърна внимание на някои
I
нормативни
would like to
проблеми,
draw your
които ние
attention
се
to
сблъскваме в
certain
проектантите, които са свързани с така
problems
наречените
arising from the
сгради
legislation,
близко до
problems
нулевото
that
потребление
we
на
designers
енергия,
come
за
across. They
които,
have to
така,
do
за
with
които
the
инсталации
zero
говориха
energy
преди
buildings
мене колегите от Ховъл
and
и
the installations that the colleagues from Hovel and the other companies referred to.
Сега, в момента ние имаме една директива 2010
There
номер
is a
31, която
directive
задължава
31 from the year
всички
2010.
нови сгради да
It puts an
новопроектирани сгради да
obligation
бъдат
for
сгради с
every newly
близки до
designed
нулевото потребление на
buildings to
енергия.
be close to zero energy
В
consumption.
нашата нормативна база, това е в
In
наредба
our
7 за енергийна
legislative framework,
ефективност на
this is
сгради, както и
Ordinance
Закона за
7 for the
енергийната
energy
ефективност,
efficiency of building as well as the
ясно
Energy Efficiency
определението за
Act.
сгради близки до нулевото
There is a clear
потребление.
definition
Това
for
са,
buildings with
само
close
един
to
момент,
zero energy
цитирам
consumption.
точно.
Let me quote from the ordinance.
Това са сгради, при които енергопотреблението на сградата е определено като първична
where the
енергия,
energy
отговаря на клас А от
consumption
скалата
defined
на
as
класове на
primary
енергопотребление
energy
на
corresponds to class
съответния тип
A.
сгради. И второто е не по-малко
And
от 55% от потребната
no less
доставената
than
енергия за отопление,
55%
охлаждане,
of the energy
вентилация и
consumed
гореща
for
вода,
heating,
за битови нужди,
ventilation,
осветление,
domestic hot
енергия от
water,
възобновяеми
lighting,
източници,
etc., should come
разположени на
from
място, на ниво
renewables
сграда или в близост до
that are
сградата.
located in the
Това е по
building or
отношение
close
на
to the building.
нормативната база.
This is
Между
the
другото,
legislative
в
framework
януари
in
месец
Bulgaria.
се опита в Закона за енергийната ефективност да се сложи текст,
In
че това
January,
е
there were
задължително за
attempts to
нови
make an
сгради,
amendment to the Energy
но
Efficiency Act, making
аз
it
участвах и
mandatory
в
for
едни
all new
срещи, се видя,
buildings.
че много
However,
трудно това може да
I
стане
was part
задължително
of
и това
certain
се
meetings on that matter,
отложи
and it became
за
clear that it would
неопределено
be
време в
difficult to put an obligation
наредба 7 да се...
for that, so it was
Какви
postponed
са проблемите, с
indefinitely.
които
What are the
бихме се
problems
сблъскали? Нали,
that
тук,
we
както
could come
показаха
across?
колегите,
As the
за нови
colleagues
сгради,
showed us,
за малки
for new
къщи,
buildings,
това
for
е лесно
single-family
осъществимо.
homes, it is easy to
Но
make
за
such
по-големи
installations.
сгради,
However,
в
for
топлофицирани, в
bigger
газифицирани
buildings,
райони, това вече почва
in
да става проблем.
areas where there are
Защото,
gas installations
казвам ви
and
го
district
директно,
heating, it is more
за
of
да
a
влезе
problem.
сградата, ще
Let me
вземем да
tell you
сложим
this.
котел на пелети в топлофициран район или ще накичуриме
Do we
с
place
климатици.
a boiler on pellets for that
Но това
building,
пак
or
е
do
тук
we place
държавната
air
политика
conditioning
много
everywhere?
закъсня с Ние трябваше да имаме,
government
както
policies
гледам
are far
в други
behind.
страни, примерно са
We should have
приели
done
преди
this a lot
години,
earlier,
2018
years
година,
earlier.
котли на
Other
нафта и на
countries
газ.
adopted
Не
the
може
relevant
да
legislation. How can we let us
и да
have
се върви
oil
също друго и
and coal
топлофикациите. Те
boilers in
трябваше отдавна
2018?
да
They
минат
should have
на
been
някакви
banned a long
по-нови
time ago.
или на
Or
газ,
the
или да
central
когенерации,
heating
за да може и
companies
тази
should
енергия
have
да се води
switched to
възобновяема.
renewables a lot earlier, or cogeneration, in order to consider their
Това са
heating
някои от
renewable
нещата,
as well.
които исках да
These
кажа.
are some of the aspects that I wanted to highlight.
Аз само искам да направя един лек коментар, може би и вие да коментирате. Понеже в детайли разглеждахме в последните месеци Националния план за възстановяване и устойчивост, за който толкова много се говори напоследък. Давахме своите коментари от неправителствения сектор. Направи ми впечатление, че в един или два от проектите, специално свързани с образование, където се предвижда изграждане на общежития, реновация на бази на университети. Направи ми впечатление много силно там за детски градини също се споменават се конкретни бройки, които ще получат финансиране за реновация, модернизация, конкретни бройки, които ще бъдат изградени в следващите няколко години. Това, което ми направи впечатление за отоплителните системи е споменато, че може да се реновират с газови котли и че това е една от предпочитаните мерки, когато е извън населено място. Имам предвид в населено място, което не е свързано с топлофикационна мрежа. Може ли да коментирате по някакъв начин
locations where there is no central district heating? How would you comment on this?
Коментара е ясен. Просто ние нямаме като държава кога ще спреме въглищата, кога ще спреме газта. Това е. И тук се гледа дали кое в момента е най-така удачното и най-ефтино решение. Това е, което мога да кажа. Просто ние трябваше още преди 10 години да кажем, това ще стане след 5, това ще стане след...
We should have set deadlines saying
тук
we
се
ban
лутаме,
this by
въпреки
this
че
timeline.
прави ми впечатление, че други европейски страни
не
са съвсем изхвърлили, че те в Германия, че въглищата до 38 година. Англия четох една статия за гъста. Как ще спираме гъста, вика? Това след 30 и някоя година. Мисля, че вече има някакъв и социален момент, който трудно, особено пък ние не може дървата и въглищата от домовете да изхвърлим. Тук в България предишният панел, който стана дума, ние имаме голям проблем, че в къщите и в апартаментите не се живее пълноценно. В смисъл такъв ползва се една стая, две стаи и оттам се изкривява цялата система и за отопление. Имаме проблеми с топлофикация, има едно недоверие към нея.
We have our problems with the utility company providing central heating. There is mistrust. People stop using it at all.
И нещо хубаво нещо.
Whereas in Europe, district heating is seen as a benefit.
Може би Боян Кусаров от
Boyan Kusarov from Danfoss
състоянието
на
топлофикационните дружества чисто технологично в България, защото знам, че той има наблюдение към това какво се случва.
Да, значи състоянието на дружества, всъщност интересен факт, не знам дали знаете, но
Топлофикация София, that is the third biggest
в Европа. На първо место е Виена, на второ е Мюнхен.
District heating,
така че Топлофикация София
the third biggest in
има 18
Europe,
абонатни станции.
preceded by Munich and Vienna.
Светло и колеги,
It has
тук
thousands of subscribers in Sofia alone.
предишния панел казах,
It was said a number of
За мен
times
основният проблем, разбира се, че състоянието не е
that the
цветущо.
main
Направиха се
problem
през
is, of
годините
course,
определени постъпления,
the
нещата да
state
се
of play
поправят,
isn't good.
но
There were
според мен
attempts to
сме много
fix the
далеч
network,
от
but
местото,
I
в което
think
трябва да
that
бъдем.
we are very far from where we
При
should
все, че
be.
сме и страна членка в Европейския съюз.
We are an EU member state,
Основното нещо
and
тук
look at
за
the
мен
state of
не е
play.
само в нормативната уредба, а отново
The main
е
problem, in my
в
opinion, is not the
господин Тонев каза
legislative
много правилно,
framework.
държавна
It is,
политика.
as Mr. Tolev
Това
said,
са
the
правилните две
state
думи.
policy. These are
Когато
the
това
correct
нещо се
words,
превърне в
state
държавна
policy.
политика,
When this becomes
не само
state
Топлофикация
policy,
София, всички останали
not
топлофикации ще
only
бъдат в перфектно
Toplificatia
състояние.
Sofia, but all the other utility
Така,
companies
има и хубави
would
примери,
be
които мога да дам така
in a
с нещата,
better
които се случват в Пловдив.
state.
Нали, там,
An example with the
разбира се,
situation in
западноевропейска
Plovdiv.
фирма
It's a
оперира
Western
с
European
местната
company which is
топлофикация, но пък
operating
в
with the local
по-малките
district
населени
heating
места
company.
и в
However,
по-малките
in
топлофикации, които са
smaller
в
towns,
други градове,
smaller
така
district
нещата
heating companies in
съвсем не
other
са цветущи.
towns,
И
they
общо
are not
взето не говорим само за...
excellent health
Говорим
as
за
well.
всичко. Смисъл и за самите
picture.
тецове там, където се произвежда енергията, за тръбната мрежа, за
Starting with
абонатните станции по
power
блоковете.
stations
Всичко
where
е според мен така в
the energy is
едно състояние,
produced,
в което не
the
подхожда на
substations,
държава, която е вече
all of this
15 години
is in
член
such a
на
state
Европейския
as is not
съюз. И
fitting
тук не е
for a
само
European
проблема в
member
нормативната
state
уредба, проблема е
which
всъщност
joined in
и
2007.
в нормативна
So the
уредба, и
problem
в
is not only the
регулаторните органи. Това
legislative
са двете
framework.
основни неща, според мен. Но нещата не са, според мен, не сме там, където трябва да сме.
In a nutshell, we are not where we should be.
Накратко.
Благодаря ти, Боян, за мнението. Искам сега да дам думата накратко на Александър Станков от NFEC. Ако може да начертаете какви са основните проблеми, с които се сблъскваме при реновацията на сгради, в транспонирането на европейските директиви, какви са пречките и какви са възможностите, които вие виждате за развитие. Как ние бихме могли като хора, работещи в сектора, да повлияем на формирането на дадени държавни или общински политики?
How could we, the ones active in the sector, help form state policies or municipal policies? There were plenty of questions. I hope that you can hear me well. There is some noise around me. I hope it's not in the way. On one hand, we are obliged to do things that we don't do. It became clear. Furthermore, it's clear that we're very much behind on state policies. I agree with Mr. Toller. On the other hand, there are 30 years until the deadline for decarbonization elapses. If we start working quickly, we could do good time. We could really work. We could use financial resources from the funds that will come to Bulgaria. Opportunities. If we look at buildings as individual sites and we try to fully decarbonize them, it would be very difficult. That is why the approach should be towards decarbonizing neighborhoods. For example, if there is more than one type of consumer, or different types of consumers from the viewpoint of time, we could make local centers for decarbonization. A big district heating company is something that has great losses, difficult to manage. I don't think it is the best solution when it comes to decarbonization. Back to neighborhoods. We heard what can be done in terms of decentralized systems, photovoltaic systems in buildings. There are technical solutions on the market, at least in other countries, so we should make use of them and try to apply them in our country. However, for that purpose, we should draw the attention of facility managers. It seems that property management is not a very popular matter in Bulgaria. This has to do with buildings. If we construct buildings with decarbonized systems that are expensive to maintain, they have to be kept in good condition, and this would make the operation very expensive. And if we look at sites as neighborhoods, it could decrease maintenance costs. That's why it's important to focus on building maintenance as an economically viable solution. There are softwares for managing neighborhoods, small neighborhoods. One of such systems is under construction. We have access to it. Passive, so-called passive house. We can use the model. We made a project with the municipality of Gabrovo, which did not receive funding, but perhaps at a later stage it could. Thermal pumps, buffers, and a transition device in order to decrease the volume. Together with the university in Gabrovo and the municipality of Gabrovo, two engineers, Ivan Dimchev, Georg Shakirov, we developed a design concept with them meant to feed 5 buildings of different types, 3 residential buildings, 1 museum, and 1 former school, for which it couldn't be clear what the consumption would be in the future. Thus, we showed that it's a possibility. We relied mostly on thermal pumps. I would like to mention what is our methodology for building evaluation. There are a number of problems. They have to do with certain problems, the way of the calculations. When engineers like us make calculations, we fail to consider 2 matters: conductivity of heat and air conductivity. There could be 30, 40, or 50% of heat energy going through the building blocks of the building. There are 2 problems that we have seen in practice. A brand new building equipped with ventilation, where energy costs were a lot higher than calculated in the beginning by the engineers. Second, ventilation could not be adjusted at the site because the building was flawed, and when there is wind, it completely changed the ventilation. So there is no evaluation for the quality of management of property management systems. The solution is to use software for engineering, and engineers should focus on solutions. There is software in Bulgaria. It has been in use for some years. We could upgrade it if there is will on the part of the state and the agencies, and we could come up with online-based software that would do the most of the building modeling. In this way, the experts could focus on taking the right decisions. I think I took a lot of time. Thank you very much.
Понеже един от най-разпространените
софтуери. I have a clarifying question. Since one of the most common softwares for calculating energy efficiency. If I'm not mistaken, it's developed in a technical university. It's called EAP. So the last time I worked with it, it doesn't provide for the opportunity to introduce that kind of heat bridges, which distorts the calculation. I'm not sure if the situation is still such or not. Has it changed over the past couple of years? It is possible to do that via the software, but in fact, nobody does that.
Добре,
благодаря. За въздухоплътността нямаме абсолютно никакви.
And as to air connectivity, absolutely impossible to introduce it via the software. My colleague Radustina Slavkova has signaled to me that there is a question. Yes, thank you, Svetlu. I have a question to all panelists. Do you think that a small incentive, which is available to all households, for example, a lump sum or a tax relief amounting to about 1,500 euro, would such a thing make the systems that we've been discussing so far more attractive to households? Do you think loans would be applicable for the introduction of such systems, loans to be repaid over the course of a couple of years' time? Do you think that that would incentivize households enough in order to implement such systems?
Въпросът ми се струва, че изисква малко повече анализи, преди да може някой да му отговори.
Before anyone can give an answer to that, in my opinion, we need to analyze the issue in greater detail. Perhaps we should try to find solutions to support households where they will simply not be able to afford, because if the retrofitting program continues, including an element of co-funding on the part of the on the part of the owners who cannot afford to do that should be able to be granted a loan or some sort in order to continue with the retrofitting of their building. Well, there need to be incentives. What kind of incentives, though? We really need to analyze that properly, because just mentioning lump sums will, in my opinion, not clarify it enough. And we as specialists, in my opinion, should try to come up with energy forecasts, which would prove that should system A be implemented, it will be able to repay itself, not over the course of 20, but over the course of 7 years. And if we had that kind of schemes and models developed, the banks would be very happy to grant loans, but whether we're talking about 7 or 20 years, this is currently not clear. There is only one such incentives right now, but it's a very non-prominent one, because it's for Class A buildings, and it refers to taxes, and tax rates in Bulgaria are quite low, so this is not much of an incentive anyhow. If you allow me to clarify why I asked that question, because we've been discussing this with our colleagues from Zazemiata. There should be an amount, a minimum amount, but anyhow, that should be an amount that any Bulgarian citizen can have access to. And for energy poor citizens, that might cover an investment for a pellet stove, for example, or a better AC unit. So for that kind of citizens, this might be a grant amounting to 100% of the amount. But at the same time, for households who would like to have a better installation installed, or to have a thermal pump installed, that might be the initial incentive, that is 10 to 12% of the initial investment. It will also be of support to the household. But indeed, you're right that we need to have more detailed analysis in order to be able to come up with specific proposals. But anyhow, we are thinking about that, I can assure you. I have one more comment to share with you. It's not the best of ideas to put energy poor citizens in one and the same category as everybody else, because we need to definitely incentivize energy poor citizens, whereas the other groups can afford to get much more. I also have a question to everyone, but to the colleagues from Hoval in particular. This solar installation for a prefabricated block of flats, we know that there is technology that can be installed in such sites. It has been around for a while now, but have you had such projects in Bulgaria, and what are the hindrances that you're faced with? Because to the best of my knowledge, it's very difficult to install such an installation from a legislative point of view. We know that such installations for residential blocks of flats are very, very limited number if everything was done legally. I'm referring here to photovoltaic installations. I'm not quite sure what the situation is with the solar panels and domestic hot water. We do not produce solar panels. What we talked about was that our control system can manage solar panels. Our company, Hoval, does not produce that. We produce solar panels for hot water, but that was an operational scheme that we talked about for residential park Sofia. It's a new construction. We haven't had any retrofitting projects in that sense yet. Not implemented, I mean. But for solar panels such as photovoltaics, I cannot really say because we have no observations on that. No, my question was more related to the panels for domestic hot water. You mentioned that you've had such projects for the retrofitting of buildings. I'm referring more precisely to the legislative situation as to the introduction of such an installation. Do you need to get consent from the households? Yes, indeed, this is perhaps the main hindrance to the implementation of such retrofitting projects. There has to be documentation, also documentations from the municipality. Of course, should all homeowners give their consent to do that. I don't know if there are hindrances from an administrative viewpoint. Perhaps the procedure is a little bit more cumbersome and really someone needs to dig into it in order to be able to do it. Possibly this is the case, but we haven't implemented such projects yet, so it's hard to say. Indeed, when there are multiple households, everybody needs to have given their consent for this investment to be made. And then respectively, the legal provisions need to be abided by as well. I would like to once again have the floor, although I'm overdoing it a little bit, I think, but Radostina is perhaps familiar with the fact that I live in a block of flats where there is central solar installation. As an owner of a flat in such a building, I dare say is that the most important thing is who is going to implement the installation and who's going to maintain it. We had huge issues with the company who implemented, but the maintenance was very difficult. The end result was quite poor. We had to find another company and we had to adjust the situation here and there. We removed one of the solar panels that actually broke. So only when we relaunched the installation with an improved installation, it was difficult. We had issues with the hot water and so on and so forth. So it's very important to pay attention to whoever is going to implement the project and maintain it. We didn't have many issues since we got the installation actually for free, but yeah, that made it a little bit easier, to be honest. We haven't had any administrative hindrances in that sense. Indeed, yes, Alexander talked about one of the buildings that was retrofitted under the staccato. European project. In one of the big Sofia hospitals and in one of the kindergartens here. But indeed, we shouldn't always make our choice on the basis of the lowest price. The so-called green public procurement needs to start being implemented, and sustainability criteria really need when the final choice is made. Thank you. If you allow me, I also have a question. My name is Angel Nikolaev from the Black Sea Energy Research Center, one of the two co-organizing associations. We work together with the Association of the municipalities in the Rhodope Mountain. We work with individual municipalities and the national level under a EU-funded project for replacing old heating systems with new ones and thermal pumps. What I would like to know is the following. We communicate with municipalities all the time, and we can raise a lot of questions to them in terms of issues that you have pinpointed. We also work with district administrations and national administrations. So my question is, what are the hindrances before the business, in your opinion? I'm asking this question both to the technology distributors, but also to architects, designers, companies that install that kind of solutions. So is there anything that you think the public authorities can do? Is there a solution that you would like to propose to them? I'm talking about soft measures, not so much about funding. Are there any administrative hindrances to your work? Do you think, for example, that municipalities should disseminate that kind of information to households about that kind of new technologies? Do you think that the state should support trainings for the different types of specialists? But perhaps you have issues with unfair competition, something that authorities can help you tackle by introducing certain regulations, for example. By unfair competition, I mean even low quality products and services that are marketed, for example. It's indeed a very broad scope questions, but if you can think of a solution, especially easy solutions that municipalities and the state in general could implement in order to speed up the process, you would be more than welcome to share it with us. Thank you.
Може би наистина информираността е на първо място.
Well, I think awareness raising comes first. There needs to be a campaign to inform the public at large about such solutions, and perhaps we need to have steps for the implementation of such projects. But anyhow, awareness raising comes first. In order for a solution to be implemented, it needs to be properly accepted. People need to be aware of its added value. And I'm referring to everybody along the line, designers, architects, users, and so on and so forth. Consumers who are going to retrofit their buildings, they need to know in advance what kind of a solution they're looking for, whether they're talking about going for the cheapest solution, which usually entails the biggest pollution, or not. So they need to know that investing in such installations is worth it, and they have to be aware of that. Going back to what Stanimira said, I believe this is really the right thing to say. I would only add one thing: clear-cut criteria. Yes, indeed, awareness raising comes first, but then we need to have criteria as to the people who are eligible to apply, households that are eligible to apply for such a thing, and then we need to have clear-cut criteria for the companies from the business who could apply to become the contractors under that kind of projects. Thank you. I'm not talking about programs in particular, in this case, the consumer can simply go to the shop and buy what they need there. But the thing is, what would incentivize the consumer to do that, to make that purchase, and whether the state is supporting that process or hindering it. The first thing is awareness raising, I would say. Well, anyhow, we do our best in that respect, and I do hope that we will be successful over the course of the next months. I wish you good luck as well. I would also like to add something. I agree with what's been said about awareness raising, but there is one more thing that municipalities can do, and this is long overdue. This has to do with the directive I mentioned earlier on. The state and municipalities need to set examples via public buildings where they installed such systems, and they can prove what the results are in this way. And another one I wanted to mention, our chamber has been against the so-called engineering for many years now. This is one of the big issues that leads to low prices and low quality. We need to have a project, and on the basis of that project and that blueprint as part of this project, we need to have the tender organized and not simply go for the contractor who proposed the lowest price for implementation, because after that we tend to have quite a few problems as a result. Thank you. I would also like to thank you. Now I would like to turn to Petya Nikolova if she wants to participate in the discussion as an architect and to provide us with her opinion on the issues that we've been talking about. She's more than welcome to do so. So far, we've been talking predominantly about HVAC installations. I would just like to ask Petya to turn her camera on. Can you hear me? Because the background noise here can be quite loud. Hi, my name is Petya Nikolova. I'm an architect. I work for a design studio, Anata. We work on different issues related to design. I logged in quite late, and I apologize for missing some of the things that you've already discussed. But what I can say is that everything that has to do with energy efficiency and reducing buildings' carbon footprint just hang in the air. There are some recommendations, certain things could potentially happen, but everything is pretty much unregulated. Even in the design process, we tell customers, you could do that or you could do something else, but they feel as though these are some kind of exotic measures. This might be an overstatement, but indeed, they do not perceive this as something recommended, and they should go for it. They perceive it as an exotic measure. Yes, I might have a thermal pump installed. I can afford that, but since it's not obligatory, not too many people do it, why should I? Indeed, there is little information about that, and as hard as we try to solve that issue, I believe that if there were a campaign, a state campaign, or a clear-cut strategy starting with awareness raising would be great. That kind of initiative for tax reliefs, interest rate free loans, and so on could help a lot. There should be an overall program, state program that is, in that respect. Such measures need to be accompanied with sanctions. Should someone does not abide by what they're supposed to implement. Yes, as much as we want everybody to act in good faith, this doesn't necessarily happen all the time. So there need to be sanctions for polluters, for example. These two aspects are closely interlinked. Mr. Tolev said, rightfully so, that the state should set examples with buildings that they retrofit. And in my opinion, any state-owned building which is currently being constructed should comply with that kind of requirements. beyond what we've been discussing so far about energy efficiency and so on and so forth, the examples set by the state are not good at all. We're also talking about accessible environment, built up environment. So there is a new ordinance about what every public building should comply with, but the state has not done anything in order to implement that new ordinance in that sense. So yet again, in my opinion, the state is not playing the role it should be playing. And this is in my opinion, where we should start from. That's it. Thank you.
Панелисти. До сега говорихме за информираността на гражданите, на домакинствата, но доколко работещите в сектора строителство са запознати с новите тенденции и може би малко по-конкретно за връзката на сектор отопление с климатичните промени. Новозавършващите студенти имат ли всичките необходими знания или construction graduates know about this? Допълнително повишаване на квалификацията точно по тези further training on these matters. What is your opinion? В смисъл, все пак, нали, по-отдавна завършил студент, но мога да кажа, че определено има нужда да се повиши. Нали, знанието и въобще има нужда от такава програма. Аз лично в университета специално съм взимала, беше такъв избирателен курс, който е свързан с енергийна ефективност. Честно казвам, той не беше това, което аз очаквах да бъде. От сегашната ми гледна точка не мога да кажа, че е бил особено полезен, но като цяло това не е нещо, което така добре се застъпва в университетите. Поне аз съм завършила бившия ВЯС. Според мен трябва да има, може би, това нещо може да се води и от фирми, които се занимават с такъв, да се канят като гост-лектори от различни фирми, свързани с енергийна ефективност, но към момента не се обръща внимание особено на това. Единствено се гледа в общи линии, като архитект го казвам, дебелината на изолацията, което е безумно. В общи линии при проектиране имаш изолация, колко е дебела, ами добре.
Да, наистина е така, защото ние може да го кажем от обратна гледна точка. Понеже сме правили няколко такива кампании в технически университети, пред ОВК проектанти и пред архитекти, студенти. Интересът наистина е огромен. И когато имаме такова организирано събитие, наистина се записват много хора и обратната връзка от тях е много добра, тъй като те получават много актуална информация и вече примери от практиката. И това за тях е много полезно, но наистина нямат програми и редовно такива обучения. Може би е добре да се организира. За момента не са много такива кампании, в които ние от време на време успяваме да се включим, но посоката е тази. Наистина не само тук теоретичен материал, но трябва да има и примери от практиката и да бъдат информирани за актуалните посоки и технологии.
Това, което се забелязва, за съжаление, в университета, по-специално отопление, вентилация, климатизация, че все по-малко студенти има в тази специалност. Това последните няколко години. Надяваме се тази тенденция да се промени. По повод на въпроса за това дали хората от строителния сектор са информирани, ние като производители поддържаме постоянна връзка с тези компании и представяме нашите решения и всички нововъведения в областта. Така че да, професионалистите са уведомени, трябва по някакъв начин да се стигне до крайните клиенти.
know of this. They are aware of these developments, but it's the end consumers that have to be more aware.
За студентите.
Just to add to what Christina said about students, I graduated
за съжаление, в момента за мен един от основните проблеми е, че нашата специалност просто не е модерна. Няма достатъчно студенти, които да имат желание да всъщност да учат това нещо. И според мен това нещо нали, всичко това ще рефлектира се в следващите години неминуемо върху бизнеса като цяло, не само върху бизнеса, а и върху цялата гилдия. Това е едно на ръка относно информираността на строителите и на хората в този бранш. Аз мисля, че напоследък поне моите наблюдения са такива, че доста от поне компаниите в нашия бранш, тези, които присъстват тук със сигурност, са доста активни в това отношение. Да не говорим, че миналата година ни даде и така нови инструменти да го правим това нещо. Самия факт, че в момента дори с вас правим вебинар и си говорим по този начин. Миналата година също доста от компаниите, включително и ние, реализирахме един бум от вебинари в началото. Като към момента това се оказа, че е една позитивна тенденция и самите инвеститори, клиенти, инсталатори го търсят това нещо вече от нас, така че така или иначе вече е заложено в нашите програми и стана част от нашата работа. В това отношение, според мен е тук, нали, от една страна строителния бранш, но според мен много важна е темата и с инвеститорите. В смисъл, за мен в строителния бранш е окей, но трябва според мен и хората, които инвестират парите си в сгради, те трябва да бъдат малко по-добре също информирани от нас и трябва да са основен таргет. Понеже лично моите наблюдения в нашия бизнес нали, са основно, че за мен основното нещо и така, хората, които трябва да са най-големите адвокати на енергийната ефективност, това са инвеститорите. Всъщност, крайна сметка, тези хора си дават парите и за тях това, ако не е бизнес, няма за кой друг. Ако ти вложиш едни хиляди или милиони евро в една сграда и не искаш реално по-рано този бизнес модел да проработи за теб и ти започваш да си връщаш инвестицията, ние колкото и да ходим при строители, колкото и да ходим при инсталатори, колкото и да проектират проектантите по-добри проекти, няма как да стане. Ако тези хора сами не гледат бизнеса си, ако не искат да печелят, защото енергийната ефективност, освен че е добра за околната среда, за инвеститора това е печалба.
Is beneficial not only to the environment, it's beneficial to the investor as well, because it provides a faster return on the investment.
За мен това е също. Друг е въпросът, нали, вече какви са инвеститорите. Защото има инвеститори, които само като построят сграда, всичко е в техния джоб, понеже това са ни пари, които идват някъде си там. И така, но в момента, нали, според мен, последните години особено се появиха и доста читави инвеститори, за които това е бизнес. И това е добре за нас. Появиха се хубави проекти, енергийно ефективни проекти, с които и ние и те могат да се гордеят. Така че според мен това е също една от основните неща, които говорим.
Господин Толев искаше да каже нещо и ние двамата.
Аз само искам да допълня, че
от студентите, които завършват in my opinion, my experience, the graduates of the technical universities in Bulgaria are quite well versed in energy efficiency. There is such a discipline, energy efficiency of buildings. However, the problem when it comes to design is that energy efficiency is left to the designers on HVAC, and very few architects and engineers are made part of the common solutions to the building. And this should be done from the onset. Regarding buildings that close to zero consumption, it would be a huge problem for us because let's say that we start designing the building, we construct it, and then it does not qualify for Class A. So all the necessary measures have to be taken for everyone to be prepared and on board. Architects, engineers, HVAC specialists. A few words from me. What Engineer Tolev said is completely true. Regarding the University of Architecture and Construction, and to what extent there is focus on energy efficiency, it's quite obvious that students are not interested in studying much further in this respect because they see they don't need it in practice after they graduate, because it's the engineers that deal with the problem afterwards. So this university had a master's program on energy efficiency, which lasted only 1 year. All the students who wanted to sign up signed up for it. There were 5 or 6 students. Now, for 2 years in a row, this master's program is not running because there was no interest on the part of the students. There was only 1 applicant. That's why the program didn't run. But the first graduates of the program were very happy, were very satisfied with what they learned. Well, why is there no interest in students in this topic? In my opinion, it's due to the fact that in practice, everything is left to the engineers. It could be due probably to some problems within the university itself, but I wouldn't venture a guess on that matter. I don't think it's my place. Actually, the greatest interest came from engineers in this program, not from architects, which should have been architects that are mostly interested. A few words on what Mr. Kusarov said on investors. More specifically, on this turbulent period where the legislative framework for zero consumption buildings or close to zero is debate still ongoing. Over the last few years, debates have been ongoing. Who could really incentivize investors to build buildings with close to zero consumption? Is it completely up to the good faith and conscience of the investor? Could it not depend on the experts that he consults regarding construction? Isn't it up to them to convince the investor that it is best for him, including his best economic interest, to construct such a building? But there are different types of investors. Some are very well informed, well read, widely traveled, interested. They pay attention to Western European projects. However, for the bigger part, the investors hire a project management company to supervise the implementation of the site. And they select what they can select as best to the best of their abilities and propose it to the investor. Yes, I completely agree with what Christina said. This is indeed the case. There is an important aspect to consider here. At least from my personal experience, I don't want to advocate for certain people, but we have come across many investors. Allow me to give an example from the last few years. There are companies that are managed by funds or manage someone's money, and they invest in buildings. So someone comes along, sets his eye on a property, do some calculations, and decide to build some public building or a hotel or whatever. For this type of investors, they see this as business. It's very important for them that there is a return on investment very quickly. They insist on that. Of course, if it could be done at the lowest possible price, it's best for them, but this does not mean that they don't care about quality. In many of these cases, especially when we talk about hotels, We come across people who build hotels that are of the same kind in different parts of the world, not only in Europe. So they usually have a list of vendors that they use, recommended vendors they have worked on other of their projects. So they made their list. Let's say that their products are very good quality or energy efficient. This type of investors are the ones that tend to return to our territory, which made local investors more interested because they saw that it's possible, it's a possibility. I remember that I had hundreds of meetings with all kinds of investors for skyscrapers, for single-family homes. For these people, energy efficiency is an abstract notion. They can't see it, they can't park it at the crossroads, and they can't show it off as an expensive asset. However, when the international type of investors come to Bulgaria, and this building operates properly, there is a quick return on investment, it became easier for us to convince them, and this is the core of our business in the end of the day. What I see is a positive trend in Bulgaria, which I hope to see continue, because more companies outsource their offices to Eastern Europe, and it's a trend that will go on. It has to do with the labor costs. After all, we know what's the situation here and in Western Europe. I expect that the positive trend in the future would be as follows. I think people started to realize that not everything has to be outsourced to China, because if everything is 80 to 90% of what a company uses comes from China, and you are in a vulnerable position in a situation of a pandemic or another global problem. So now there is a relocation of factories back to Europe, and Eastern Europe is the best place for that. Currently, we are expanding our factories in Poland with 30%. We expect an expansion of our factories in Sofia and Burgas, and I don't think we'll be the only ones. So when you consider what I said earlier about buildings and what I just said about the trends in the industry, I think this will help us considerably improve the quality of our buildings, because companies such as ours and big investors don't want to compromise when it comes to energy efficiency. They want to adhere to the standards, and as Mr. Tolev said, they want to see the project implemented perfectly as on paper. So when someone can show what the project will look like, do the calculations for the costs, for the energy savings, it's a lot easier to convince them. That's the fact.
I agree, and I would just like to add something to what Bojan said for the investors. Indeed, a lot depends on whether the investor is going to use the building itself or they're going to sell it. Because for residential buildings, when investors do not really think that way, or at least there are very few of them who think that way, who think about how the building is going to operate and be used afterwards. It's much more easy to see that happen when someone invests in industrial buildings, because the investors are both going to invest and use the building afterwards. They also look at costs, what the return on investment is, and so on and so forth. So the issue is with residential buildings, because investors in such buildings simply build the building and then sell. So with them, there are some issues there is a big gap in that sense. I would also like to what Stanimira said. Perhaps this depends on the requirements that the end customer has, because if end customers are much more familiar and they have the right expectations and they know what they're looking for, then investors in that kind of buildings would be more incentivized to improve the quality of the buildings that they build. So we really need to try to get to investors and raise their awareness, but the same holds true for end customers because they're the ones who make the decision at the end of the day. Indeed, they can request for such a thing, or they need to have, they may have criteria on the basis of which to choose their investor for the residential building. Indeed, for residential buildings these days, we tend to have flats without any heating installation, only a potential connection to the district heating, and whoever wants to have their floor heated, for example, they need to remove what the building company has already put on top of the floor by way of coverage, and so on and so forth. So I think you can see a lot of improvement in that respect. Sorry, Buyan, for interrupting you, but since we really need to finalize our work within the next 5-6 minutes, we just had a question I want to ask you, and it has to do with the following. What are the potentials for the construction of a general installation for all flats in a block of flats? I'm talking about renovation for a system, I suppose, somewhere outside Sofia, where all the flats were heated individually. So would it be more efficient to build individual installations, or rather an overall installation for the whole block of flats? I don't believe that they would be able to reach a consensus on that. If they do that, though, the overall installation for the whole building is better because it generates more savings and it gives a better return on investment. But then half of them will stop paying their bills, and then what happens next? Indeed, it's an issue. It is an issue. There are, of course, options for individual meters for the electricity consumption, but indeed, everything starts with the consensus to do it together. Indeed. I would just like to add to that in some West European countries, there are certain requirements according to which a block of flats with more than 10 apartments should have a central heating installation. So this should be incentivized, but anyhow, we need consensus in our case. And this shouldn't be to the detriment of anyone who's acting in good faith, because some people might not be able to cover for their costs, but others should not suffer as a result of that, the ones who do. Indeed, these are the main issues. The starting point is consensus. It's very difficult. I can tell you on the basis of my personal experience, I've been managing the block of flats that I live in for the past 6 years now, and I tell you it's very hard. Yes, well, perhaps if someone does not act in good faith or does not cover their liabilities, then the respective legal steps should be taken for their salary. Thank you. Thank you. I believe we had a very good discussion. I'm going to give you the opportunity to just say your concluding remarks before we finish for today. I would like to once again thank you for the invitation, and I would like to thank all the colleagues. I'm very happy to see you, even though it's still online. I wish you all the best in all that you do, and stay healthy. Likewise, thank you. For us, it was an honor to participate. It was very, very pleasant to participate in this building, to see that a lot of people think in that direction, and we see that, well, maybe in the future, which is further away from us, we are going to accomplish that, but nevertheless. Thank you very much to Zazamiata for the wonderful organization. Yes, indeed, carry on organizing that kind of events and keep working in the right direction. We wish you a lot of strength to do that, and we wish you good luck. Thank you. Angel? would you like to chip in? Because it's not only the Zazemiata who organizes this event, it's also the Black Sea Energy Research Center. Well, 90% of the work was done by Zazemiata, and I would like to thank you for that. It was our pleasure to be the co-hosts of that 5-day event. Thank you to all the speakers for the wonderful presentations. Tomorrow is the last day of our 5-day conference. I believe that you will be able to find interesting things for yourselves in that. We're going to talk about the link between heating installations and air quality, both inside homes, but also ambient air quality. I can see that my colleague Radi would also like to say a few words. So this will be what the first panel is going to be dedicated to. And in the second panel, we're going to talk about the opportunities that this very hyped up term circular economy are. We're going to have a speaker from Germany and another one from the UK who are going to talk about the opportunities that circular economy provides. They are going to tell us more about how we can raise awareness both for the general public and for ourselves so that we can design environmentally friendly buildings, starting with building materials, different systems, and overall the life cycle of the building in general. Thank you, Radi. Thank you, Svetlio. Indeed, I would also like to say my concluding remarks as well. We wanted to have that kind of a business panel in the conference we organized last year, and I'm very happy that we managed to do that today, because for myself it was also very useful to have that exchange of information between the NGO sector and the business, and to see that we are on the same wavelength. From our perspective, I dare say that we are working towards awareness raising as we speak. We are developing a series of short videos where we will be able to present the different measures for energy efficiency and why they are so important for each and every individual household. So we all look forward to the videos themselves, hopefully very soon. Thank you once again for today. And some of you I will get to see tomorrow at the last day of our conference. Thank you. Thank you. I would also like to appeal to you to also target this wavelength at the management of the state. Yeah, I'm in full support of that, indeed. Have a good day, everybody.